Hi all and welcome to episode 18 of Plain Speaking Sanjiv. Today I'm going to record this video directly onto YouTube because I do not want to be constrained by the 2-minute 20-second per segment limit that is there on Twitter, because I want to talk more freely about certain aspects of private airlines and what airlines have done for the country, which many don't seem to be aware of. I'll speak of two or three separate instances that I was personally involved in. The first is back in the summer of 2014 when I was running SpiceJet. Srinagar had terrible floods that year, and I remember that there was a huge need for evacuating people from Srinagar. I personally flew into Srinagar. We had arranged a series of evacuation flights, and I personally flew into Srinagar on one of the inbound flights to see for myself what was going on, and the situation was chaos. There were literally thousands of people crowded in the terminal. Each had a booking for flights, which had was scheduled many days earlier, etc., which obviously had not operated. There was no telecom system working properly, no means to rebook passengers, no means to even contact the airline on which they were booked. Several airlines had stopped operating. But when I showed up that day, I was there. SpiceJet was operating two or three flights to Delhi that day, and Go Air was operating a couple of flights as well. And we had counters next to each other. And so I was standing there trying to help my staff decide how do we handle these passengers, many of whom don't even have tickets on us, but we had some seats on the flights. And then I saw the Go Air CEO at that time, Giorgio Di Roni, coming in sweating from the back, and he had been helping his loaders load cargo into the aircraft because they were short of loaders. A lot of the staff could not make it to the airport because of the floods. And so Giorgio and I spoke for a while, and I have to say I was so impressed by him, the fact that he would do that, go out to the ramp and load bags. So he and I spoke for a while and said, look, how do we handle these passengers who have missed their flights? They were booked on various different airlines in the past, and they paid for it. They have no way of getting refund, no way of contacting the airline, and they just want to leave Srinagar because of the floods, and they just kind of stranded, marooned, whatever it is. So he and I decided that we just take whichever passenger is next in line. Doesn't matter what ticket he's holding, which airline. It doesn't have to be on us. As long as he's paid for a ticket on some airline, we will accept them on a flight, and on a first come first serve basis, and fly them to Delhi or to Bombay or wherever the flights were going. And we did this without charge. Majority of the passengers we took had not been booked on SpiceJet, had not been booked on Go Air, or had been booked on flights that had departed or not operated or whatever it was. But we just told the passengers, look, just show us a document showing that you had a booking, and we will take you on the flight, and you don't need to pay us. And this was not covered by the media, this was not reported, because we just thought we are doing the right thing. And we first started by saying, look, between Goa and SpiceJet passengers, if you've got a ticket of either airline, let's accept. So we started accepting each other's passengers first, but then we saw there were hundreds of passengers holding tickets of other airlines whose flights were not operating that day. So we decided that, look, let's not just limit ourselves to the two airlines that we represent. Let's just take any passenger. And there were people crying. I mean, you can't imagine the scenes. I was there. People howling, crying, literally pleading to be allowed onto a plane. And we did that. And we did not ask for media coverage. We didn't ask for any special recognition. We just did it because it was the right thing to do. A year later, we had the unfortunate Kathmandu, the Nepal earthquakes, where again people were marooned. Nepalese were marooned outside of Nepal who could not get back in. There were thousands and thousands of tourists and others marooned in Nepal wanting to get out. For days, the runway was closed because of cracks, etc. And it was a terrible situation. So when the runway finally opened, uh, this was again with SpiceJet. We started operating special flights, additional flights into Nepal. This is in 2015, around I forgot, in first half of the year. And I was on one of the flights myself into Kathmandu to see for myself what was going on. And when I landed in Kathmandu, I saw that in the airport, I went outside beyond immigration into the departures area, into where people, the check-in counters, etc. And I saw people sleeping, in the backpacks, sleeping on the floor, sleeping outside the terminal, people of all nationalities, just marooned, had been sleeping there for days, just wanting to get a flight out. We had operated several special flights in, and the situation was because of lack of communications and lack of transportation, etc. Many of our flights were at the risk of leaving with empty seats because passengers who had booked were not able to get on, or we hadn't 100% bookings in some cases. So I went out there and I told the passengers, look, if any of you want to get to Delhi, if you've got an Indian visa or if you've got an Indian passport, or you're an Indian citizen, just come, show us your passport and ticket, and we'll put you on the flight. Show us a passport and ticket for whichever airline you may have booked in the past. But if you don't have a ticket, we'll book one for you. And I think we did it for some nominal fee because we just wanted to help these people to get out of there. But the most important thing is that we said, look, we'll take you on the flight. We don't care who you've bought your ticket with. We don't want a flight leaving with empty seats. And we'll help you. And again, people couldn't believe it. They said, sir, you're just going to accept our ticket? It's not on SpiceJet. So I said, yeah, we'll accept your ticket. And we did that. And again, it wasn't covered in the media. We were not doing it for PR. We were doing it because it was the right thing to do. When the world, when the country, when a neighboring country needs help, you help them. Now let's fast forward to 2018 when there were floods in Kerala. Again, Cochin Airport was shut for I think a week or 10 days. I've forgotten how long, maybe even longer. And I was with Vistara at that time, and Vistara overnight moved its operations from Kochi to Trivandrum. We were not even a regular operator to Trivandrum. We had never flown there. But within 24 hours, we managed to move a skeletal staff over to Trivandrum and start operations there within 24 hours. And what was happening at that time was a lot of people were marooned in Kerala and wanted to get out, and the flights were pretty empty going into Kerala. So we set up a task force within Vistara. Now, we were not asked to do this by anybody. We did this as a management team of Vistara. And we set up a task force and said that, look, any relief worker, any doctor, anybody who wants to help in Kerala and any relief supplies, we will fly you for free. And we fly you back for free. And we actually started doing that again without any fanfare, just on social media and through various channels, government relief channels. We just spread the word that if you're a relief worker, or you're a medical professional, or you want to ship supplies, contact such and such email address at Vistara, and we will fly you there for free, and we'll fly you back for free eventually. Again, we did this because it was the right thing to do. It wasn't for publicity. It wasn't because we were asked to do it or told to do it by anybody. We wanted to do it. And now let's fast forward to today, where the airlines have been shut down for more than a month, and it's still indefinite. We don't know when we're going to fly. This situation is not of the airlines making. It is a calamitous situation because for airlines, revenue is perishable. An airline seat is perishable. I mean, one seat you miss, one flight you cancel, you've lost the revenue forever. And it hurts me personally to now hear people say things like, oh, you're private airlines, what have you ever done for the country? Why do you even expect that there might be any kind of government assistance? And it hurts me because, we've been taxpayers, we've been flying RDG routes, which is, the national integration routes to the remote parts of the country, which are usually loss-making. We've done a bit when the region has needed our help. And now it is a black swan situation where our operations have been indefinitely grounded. It is not a situation of our own creation. And it just hurts me to hear people ask that it's too bad, so sad, suck it up. Either you bail yourself out or you disappear, we don't care. And one important aspect that people need to understand is when businesses, especially critical infrastructure businesses like aviation, talk of relief, it's not that they want money for themselves or for their management. What they want is to keep the industry alive. They want to keep the company alive. The aviation industry in India supports 3 million jobs. So by supporting the aviation industry, you're actually keeping 3 million jobs going. You're actually helping workers down the line. You're helping daily wage workers. And as the old saying goes, it's better to teach a man to fish because you teach him to eat for a lifetime than to give a man a fish. Similarly, it's better to keep the employers alive, the job creators alive, so that the jobs stay alive, rather than letting the employers or the job creators fail and then having to feed the workers indefinitely who are now without jobs. So we need to get out of the mindset that it is one or the other. They both have to work together. We have to help people at all levels, and very importantly, we need to help preserve the jobs, save the companies, save the industries that create the jobs and that perform a vital economic and social function for the country in normal times. So thank you for bearing with me. This is almost 10 minutes long, but I really thought this is something that had to be said. And please do not view private airlines as being some kind of leeches on the taxpayer. We've done our bit. We create jobs, and all we're looking for is some understanding and some help in a situation which is not of our making. So take care, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.